Wendell Barnhouse, Big12Sports.com correspondent, here with Conference Commissioner Bob Bowlsby. Bob, we haven't had a chance to talk with you in a while. There's a lot going on. We're getting ready to get into March Madness. First of all, you're winding down your time on the U.S. Olympic Committee, and you went to Sochi for the Winter Olympics. Tell us a little bit about what that entire experience was like and about your transitioning off that committee.
Well, it's been a real honor to serve on the U.S. Olympic Committee board. This is my second tour of duty, 8 years into my second tour of duty, and so I'm just about finished with my responsibilities. But it's a 15-member board that has oversight of the 40-some national governing bodies that develop the teams that represent our country on an international basis. And so it's been a lot of fun. Sochi was a particularly great experience. The venues were extraordinary. The competition was great. The Russian people really did a nice job of welcoming the world to Sochi. They have some challenges with a lack of snow, but the venues were all finished. There were some hotel challenges, but generally speaking, it was an exceedingly positive experience. The U.S. did about what we had hoped they would be doing. The Russians won the medal count, but we were close behind, and I was proud of our performers. We had some tough breaks. We had some people that came through that we didn't expect, and that's usually the way the games go.
You've got experience also on another committee, the Men's Basketball Tournament Committee. We're getting close to March Madness here. The Big 12 in men's basketball, very strong, also looks to have a good number of teams headed to women's play. What's your assessment of basketball, men and women, heading into March Madness here?
Well, you know, we're really very fortunate in our women's sports. We have a lot of very committed institutions in our women's basketball programs. We're probably going to have 6 teams in the NCAA tournament. We've competed very well at the highest levels with Baylor the last few years. I think that we go into it this year with less a clear favorite than we've had before, but we're the #1 team in attendance. We have a standalone tournament, which isn't done very many places. And if anybody can do it, the Big 12 can do it. We really have great fans, we have great coaches, we have great student athletes, and our tournament is going to be a war. And I think this year, for the first time in 3 or 4 years, it really is a wide open field where anybody could be our champion and thus get our automatic bid.
Well, for 15 years, the men's and women's tournaments were in the same city. This is the second year of having them split in 2 different cities. What were the benefits last year, and what do we see as the benefits going forward to have them in 2 different cities?
Well, you know, I think the real benefit is that it allows us to feature both programs and both tournaments. And when they're blended one way or the other, oftentimes the women end up taking a second seat, and that's not fair. Our women's basketball is too good. I think this allows us, from a media standpoint, to put focus on the women's programs, and likewise completely on the men's programs when they're playing. The fact that they aren't the same weekends anymore allows our fans to get to both places, allows institutional representatives to get to both places. And I think it just gives women's basketball the kind of profile that it really respects.
And anything new that the fans can expect for the championships, upcoming men's and women's?
Well, we're doing everything we can to create the kind of amenities that will make it fun to come to the tournament. It's a long 4 or 5 days, and a lot of people come and watch all the games, not just follow one team. Obviously, many have a favorite and still have an interest in watching the other teams, and so we're trying to do everything we can to enhance that enjoyment inside the facility. One of the things we're going to do this year for the first time is we'll have beer and wine sales at our venues. We've done that in the past. We discontinued a few years ago. These are predominantly adult audiences, and it's one way that we feel like we can control the consumption and provide a service to a predominantly adult crowd that might like such things, and it's in facilities where they normally have beer and wine service, and so that's just one way we're seeking to enhance people's enjoyment of the activities. In addition to that, we're going to do a lot of live activation with our sponsors and lots of entertainment during half times and between games, and we want it to be a celebration of what it is to be part of the Big 12. The men's tournament, the women's tournament, both big celebrations.
Fan or sportsmanship issues. We had a situation with Marcus Smart being suspended for 3 games, and there's a very strong code and ethics as far as sportsmanship, that sort of thing. What sort of control does the conference have in general about fan behavior, sportsmanship, that sort of thing?
Well, it's a shared responsibility. We really have a regulatory responsibility. We manage the conduct of the games, we manage the officiating, and we manage the so-called conduct aspects of the game. Having said that, however, fan behavior, how security works, ticket takers, ticket sellers, the kinds of people who assist fans and also enforce rules on fans are largely the domain of the institution in the case of a regular season event. And so it's really a collaboration. I think that when done properly, everybody has their eyes on the dashboard and everybody has their hands on the controls, and you work together to make sure that it's the most sports-like environment you can have, and it's also the fairest competitive environment that you can have. And so Marcus Smart would be the first one to admit that he made a mistake, and likewise there may be an intervention that would have been required on the fan prior to the time it actually happened. And so there's lots to be learned from it, and I think we always are trying to get better, but I don't think there's any one person that has responsibility for it. I think all of us collaborate to make the environment just what we'd like it to be.
Last thing I want to talk about, NCAA convention was in San Diego 3 or 4 weeks ago. A lot of talk about NCAA governments going forward. Where do things stand as far as what we may look for as far as NCAA governance changes?
We have a lot of work to do. I have a meeting in late February, and it's an important meeting with what's called the New York City Group, which is a group of commissioners and athletic directors and NCAA staff members that are taking up issues that are pertinent to NCAA governance. The long and the short of it is the 5 major conferences encounter on a day-to-day basis some challenges that other programs with smaller reach and less highly competitive don't have. And we would like a system that is responsive to our needs, while at the same time making sure that the other 275 members of Division I can retain their Division I status, can retain access to championships, and can retain a measure of revenue sharing from mostly from the men's basketball tournament. And so I think that the 275 can get what they need. I think the 75 of us can get what we need, but it's going to take a lot of horse trading, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. And we're not close to being finished with it yet, but I'm optimistic that we will eventually craft a system that will allow us to be more responsive to the needs of student athletes, that will be indicative of modern circumstances for student athletes and for institutions, and will give us the voting majorities that we need to move things through the system that will allow us to be responsive.
Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlsby. Bob, thanks for your time to get us updated on everything that's going on. There's a lot happening around the conference. For the Big 12 Digital Network, I'm Wendell Barnhouse.